around the country, particularly those in our live stream community in Ferguson and St. Louis, Missouri. We're glad to be with you again where the action is. Give a hand to our presider, Attorney Michael Hart. Certainly to all that have been on the program thus far. Let me say that as we are a week away from the We Will Not Go Back March, I spent this week 2 days in Ferguson. Last Saturday, as we were getting ready for a strategy meeting on the march after the rally, I received a call last Saturday evening from the grandfather of Michael Brown. And Mr. McSpadden told me what had happened to his grandson. As he was describing it, Minister Kirsten John Foy pulled up the picture of him laying in the street in Ferguson, Missouri. And the grandfather said he'd been watching and following Nan's work a long time and wanted to know if I would come and assist the family. I told him, well, you know, we have the lady that was beaten and pummeled on the freeway in Los Angeles. Our Los Angeles office is handling that with Reverend K.W. Toulis, that we are involved and really committed to the case here in New York and Staten Island, and I'm personally invested in that. I said, but whatever I can do, I will. When he called back and was so heartbroken, 18-year-old young man. And when he said he was supposed to start college on Monday, and now I've got to sit with my family and plan a funeral, I told him, well, I'll be out there. And that is what made me get involved. When I got there and met with the mother and the father and members of the family, they had hired then attorney Ben Crump, who had worked with us on the case of Martin Lee Anderson in Florida and then later Trayvon Martin, and we began developing the strategy. I told them first and foremost, we've got to establish that those that riot and loot are also looting the legacy of their son.
That's right.
What those that do not want to see justice for this family will try and do to both Michael Brown in the Ferguson, Missouri area, or to Eric Gardner here, is act as though that they caused their own situation because they were violent and out of control. And the only way they can do that is for folk to act violent and out of control, so you transfer that image on them.
That's right.
Thank you, sir.
So they can't make them appear reckless. But you appear reckless and they impose it on them.
Right.
You mad and angry and have every right to be. But because you can't control your anger, they use your lack of control to control the process to rob them of justice. I said, so that's the first thing you got to do. Second thing you got to do is brace yourself, because they're going to try and smear the victim. I've been in the movement since I was a teenager. I have never been involved in a case, never been involved in a movement where they didn't try to blame the victim. Like whatever they put on the victim caused what happened. And they're going to turn around and blame those of us that stand up.
That's right. Come on, Brad.
I'm going to tell you the playbook. They're going to do all of that. Then they're going to create side groups. They're going to have groups on the right.
That's right.
I'm talking about black groups. They're going to call us troublemakers. And they got groups on the left that's saying we ain't militant enough. Get ready for all of that. But if you are prepared, like the Bible says, I've been quoting the last few weeks, be not weary in well-doing, because we will reap if we don't faint. If you don't faint now with all the spirit, if you don't faint with all other conservative black groups and the super duper militant groups, if you don't faint, we can reap. But they're going to test you. But if you can pass the test, we will get justice. Let me say this. I was involved in Rodney King. I support Anthony Baez, Abner Louima. See Brother Witherspoon out there. We have put policemen that were wrong in jail. We have not succeeded in every case, but we got them all to court. And we put more away that were wrong than anybody can say. So I know what I'm talking about. I'm not guessing. You don't need no on-the-job training. You need folk that know what they're talking about. They want us to lose our mind so you can lose the cases. So don't act like that you're being militant when you play into the hands of your adversary. We had that talk, they said, you're right. We went on the old courthouse steps in St. Louis Tuesday morning. The mother, the father, lawyers and me held that press conference. I said all of that, the family supported. That night, thousands came out to the rally we had. Same thing, many of you saw it on the national news. Family there, only one date person attended. That night, a lot of the problems cooled out. Next night, cooled out. Then all of a sudden, yesterday, all week now, we've been saying, where is the policeman's name? Well, for safety reasons. What safety reason? No one wants to see him harmed, but you don't hide anybody's name that's a public officer.
That's right.
All of a sudden, yesterday, it become unsafe. So the local chief named Jackson comes out with his name, but puts out with the name a video where he says before his death, he stole some cigars from a convenience store. Right away, everybody panicked and called me here in New York. And I said, first of all, what does that have to do with him being killed? We have never said that the victims didn't make mistakes. What we said is you don't have the right to treat them any different than you treat anybody else. Are you telling me now that you have the right to run somebody down and kill them over 3 or 4 cigars? Is that what you getting ready to tell me? No, we'll just let you. Okay, fine. I said, second of all, did the policeman know this when he stopped? I tell you why it don't make sense to me. One, when have you ever heard of one policeman by himself, riding around looking for two people. What was he going to do? He can't arrest two people without calling in for support. So the story don't make sense. He can't even handcuff two people by himself. Don't make sense. Then a few hours later, the chief come out and say, well, one had nothing to do with the other. He didn't know. Well, then why did you put it out? You put it out because you wanted to smear the name of the victims. And there's nothing more contemptible and offensive to the people of this country than for law enforcement to try to smear a dead man or dead child that can't speak for themselves and only want justice. The nerve of you. The nerve of you, before they can even bury this boy, to try to demonize him like that in any way mitigates what was done to him. Nobody is trying to smear anybody but them trying to smear this boy. But they run you right into New York. They did the same thing to Eric Garner. Before y'all get too arrogant here talking about the shame, first thing they did is run out there and try to put out Eric's record. That's why his mama and his wife said Eric made mistakes, but Eric took care of his family, and they put it out there. Have we, in the leadership of some of these law enforcement departments, have we lost our decency? Where you don't even let people mourn their loved ones without you trying to smear them with things that have nothing to do with the situation at hand? You going to smear an 18-year-old boy and then say, well, it really ain't got nothing to do with this? You going to smear this man? Well, you know, right now, I was reading on the plane, and Eric Gardner, who was put in a chokehold, selling Lucy's. I look at the videotape 100 times. I didn't see him sell anything that day. But let me tell you the connection. And some of them are coming from Missouri to march with us in New York next week. I'm going right back to Missouri soon. So when we head over that bridge, we're going to have some folk up front with the family of Eric Gardner and from the family out there, because there's a connection. What is the connection? Both of them were victims of this aggressive policing of alleged low-level crime. And you cannot have a nation where people lose their lives because you run around talking about Lucy cigarettes and get out the gutter. While folks bringing guns in our community, you have no way that you stop them. There's something backward about you reaching down low with all of this murder going on. There ain't no difference between dealing with Lucy's and dealing with telling kids to get out the street. That's what you're dealing with. And that is why I brought up, and I will bring it up again, when we had the round table, that I deal with disagreeing with this whole situation of so-called broken windows, because we have a disproportionate impact in our community. And we cannot allow that to be impacted. She just trying to say, man, don't worry. Now, what I believe that we must do is we must, one, conduct ourselves in a way that will make sure the investigations go
That's right. Come on, Rev.
in a fair and impartial way. And two, we must deal with what reform is needed in policing at the same time. I looked at that paper this morning, stop and frisk, reduced all the way down in 2 major precincts. Well, that's the movement we helped to lead. They said, well, but shootings up and murders down, which proved you don't need stop and frisk to deal with murders. It's just like if you go to school and study mathematics, the only way you're going to get to the right conclusion of a mathematical equation is to have the right premise. So if I'm counting and I say 2 plus 4 is 6, and therefore plus 2 is 8, that conclusion is right. But if my premise is 2 plus 4 is 9, and then 2 becomes 7, I'm off because the premise is wrong. The premise of broken windows is the same premise of stop and frisk. Right. Same premise. The premise of stop and frisk is that if you get people low level, they won't grow up and be hardened criminals. So we're going to go in areas of blacks and Latinos and be harder so they won't grow up. Well, why don't you go in other areas? Because it's assumed if they do something low that they'll grow out of it. Well, that's a racist premise. Why would you assume if a kid in Bed-Stuy is driving an unlicensed bicycle, he's going to grow up and be a car thief? But a kid in Soho got an unlicensed bicycle, he just forgot. So you're going to put more police out in Bed-Stuy. It is a racist premise. Why are you even going to pull a gun? Or have a gun available to tell 2 kids to get out the street? I mean, how does a gun get in a discussion about why y'all walking in the gutter rather than the sidewalk? This over-policing of low-level alleged crime has to be dealt with, which is why the federal government has got to step in and take over these cases and establish federal guidelines. And we're going to fight to stand for fair, impartial investigations from New York to Missouri to LA. And we're going to fight to have the federal government lay out national guidelines and enforcement where states cannot have these laws that result in this. And I'm telling you, they're going to come, they're going to keep attacking. They're going to attack Eric Garner. They're going to attack Michael Brown. They're going to attack all of us. They've been attacking me 30, 40 years. But that's all right. I know what I signed up for. Because in the end, I was prepared for that. I grew up in the church. I read when I was a little boy Proverbs that no weapon. You can do whatever you want to do. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. And I tell these families, if you stand up and if you keep your head high and speak truth to power, God will give you strength you didn't even know you had. Don't worry about what they say. Stand up and let God fight you back. Next Saturday, I want everybody that is not signed in. We went out and got buses. There are various other organizations, buses that are bringing their members, unions, bringing their members, churches, bringing their members. I want us all to sign up. If you not, put your name on the roll. Call right now, 1-877-626-4651, 1-877-626-4651. Or you can go online to www.nationalactionnetwork.net, and we will find out where you are and tell you where the closest buses are leaving from. All of those buses will be Justice Caravan and meet and come over the bridge together. Then we will march to the site where Eric was choked and lost his life unjustly, and then to the district attorney's office, where we're calling on him to hand the case to the federal government and have a rally there next week. As I said, the people from Missouri will join us because it's the same kind of situation. Then we're going back to Missouri and have the funeral for Michael Brown. So folks need to be ready for some action-packed weeks. But smearing only makes us stronger. I told Eric Gardner's wife, don't worry about me when they start throwing out all this mess. I come from ride or die Bed-Stuy. I'll back up. When God made me, he didn't put reverse in my transmission. I don't know that. So don't worry and don't get concerned. Keep your eye on the prize and hold on. Philippians 1:28. Be not frightened. Anything, because in the end it will be their destruction and your victory. Let me say this, and I will be back. I first want you to understand that the family is who we're standing with, both here and in Missouri. To us, this is an ongoing cause that we've had to deal with. But to them, this is their loved one. You can't be more angry than they are. You can't be more outraged than they are. Don't get in front of them clowning when they've got to bear the pain. All of the loved ones got some hard days. We get mad and say we got to say go on. They ain't never going to go on the same. That is why we've got to be disciplined and respectful of these families. Am I right? Yeah. And there's a difference between having a fit and having a movement. Well, I'm just doing so-and-so. And what they're going to lead to? Well, that ain't a movement. That's a fit. Every action you take, you ought to understand what it does to get us closer to the goal. If it doesn't, then we ought not be doing that. Am I right? So before I bring the mother and with them for their remarks. This week, members of Congress stood up and said that they want the federal government to take the case of Eric Garner. We went, the family, the lawyers and I met with the U.S. Attorney's Office. Now this is the written support of our members of Congress. This is where we want to see Gardner. They have a parallel investigation going on in Ohio. We don't even want a parallel, we want them to take over Ohio. Totally. And we want them to take over Staten Island. And we bring to you the congressman on the lead in that he's a member of National Action Network. We know him, glad to see you out of jail, Randy Credit, because they locked up Randy. He's a member of National Action Network. We've known him since he ran for office the first time. Young brother grew up in our movement, is now a respected member of Congress. I go down to Washington, so I need to see Hakeem. They say, you mean Congressman Jeffrey. Have a seat, he'll be with you in a minute. Let us hear from Congressman Hakeem Jeffrey.
Thank Reverend Sharpton. You know, in the movie Get On Up, James Brown is accurately portrayed as the hardest working man in show business. And we know that James Brown is up in heaven right now. But I'm thankful that we've got Reverend Sharpton, the hardest working man in the people's business. You know, Reverend Sharpton, he started out in the 1980s eradicating the crack house. In 2014, he's regularly invited to the White House. But whenever there's an injustice, whether it's in Sanford, Florida, whether it's in Ferguson, Missouri, whether it's in Los Angeles, California, whether it's right here in New York City, Al Sharpton is on the scene. He's the hardest working man in the people's business. And so we're thankful for Reverend Sharpton. My heart and our prayers go out, of course, to the family of Eric Garner, to his mother, to his widow, to his children. We also extend the same thing to the family of Michael Brown, the family of Ramarley Graham, the family of victims of police violence who have not received justice all across America. The family of Eric Garner deserves a fair, impartial, and independent investigation. And that's why this week, 6 members of Congress, Charlie Rangel, Jose Serrano, Nydia Velasquez, Gregory Meeks, Yvette Clark, and myself wrote a letter to Attorney General Eric Holder demanding that the federal government step in and prosecute the case of Eric Garner. Now, we support the call that the family made. We support the call that Reverend Sharpton made. But as Eric Holder is reviewing the case and the facts, and as we wait for the Department of Justice to make a decision, we've got to continue to stay vigilant as the attacks come from the other side. Reverend Sharpton, of course, talked about the playbook. We know what it is. First, they'll attack the character of Eric Garner. Can I talk? Yes. And then they're going to claim that he was resisting arrest. And then they'll move on to say, well, the officer had to use that level of force because the officer allegedly feared for his life. They're going to come at us with more stories than Harry Potter. That's the playbook. But like Warner Wolf used to say, let's go to the videotape. Because the only thing that the videotape shows is that a homicide took place. Well, Mr. Congressman, then why are you asking for a federal investigation? I'm glad you asked that question. They had a videotape in the beating of Rodney King. But 4 white officers before a Simi Valley State Court jury in a community filled with law enforcement families, sound familiar? Were acquitted, notwithstanding the videotape. It took the federal government in the Rodney King case to step in so that Rodney King could get justice. And that's not just Los Angeles. We know that the state court system has regularly failed to deliver convictions in police violence cases here in New York City. In the 1980s, Eleanor Bumpers, a 66-year-old woman, was killed by a police officer with a shotgun in her own living room. And the state court failed to deliver a conviction. The officer was acquitted. In the 1990s, a young African immigrant named Amadou Diallo was shot dead in a hail of 42 bullets. And the state court system failed to deliver a conviction. Those 4 officers were acquitted in a state court in Albany. In 2006, a young man on the eve of his wedding, named Sean Bell, was cut down in a hail of 50 bullets. And once again, the state court system failed to deliver a conviction. So, Reverend Sharpton, there's a strategy that he's articulated designed to bring about justice. We know here in New York City in the early 90s, there was another chokehold case. When a young man named Anthony Bias on a Bronx street playing football was put in a chokehold by Officer Francis Lavoti. They brought the case to state court. Y'all know what happened. Francis Lavoti was acquitted. But the movement, Reverend Sharpton and others, pressed for a federal investigation, and on the same set of facts, Francis Lavoti was sent to jail. That's why we're standing here demanding that the federal government step in so justice can prevail in the case of Eric Garner. Now, we've also said these 6 members of Congress and Congressional Black Caucus stands behind us, members of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus stand behind us, that we've also got to push for the Justice Department to investigate the failed broken windows policing strategy. We need some questions answered about the police department's priorities. The guns that kill children in the neighborhoods I represent in Bedford, Stuyvesant, and Brownsville, and East New York aren't manufactured in central Brooklyn. They come in from all over the country and other places down south. Where are your priorities? Why are you arresting folks for taking up allegedly 2 seats on an empty subway car? Why Are you arresting folks for allegedly having an open container during a summer day on their own stoop? Why are you arresting young boys from our community in neighborhoods like Harlem or Bedford-Stuyvesant, the South Bronx, or Brownsville for allegedly riding a bicycle on the sidewalk? When there are people on the west side of Manhattan, in Park Slope, in Riverdale, in Brooklyn Heights, regularly on bicycles, running through red lights, breaking vehicular traffic laws. See, seems to us that either minor infractions are criminal activity worthy of arrest and prosecution, or they're not. But you can't have these minor infractions constitute criminal behavior in some communities and worthy to be ignored in other communities when the dividing line is race. We're not going to stand for that, and that's why we're pressing for the Justice Department to move forward. Now, as I take my seat, what really compelled me to decide that the moment was right to step in was just a basic, decent, common sense observation of the case. Eric Garner is dead. The person who videotaped the incident was arrested. But the officer who killed Eric Garner is free and still on the NYPD payroll. There's something wrong with that picture. There's something wrong with that picture. I said there's something wrong with that picture, and instead of focusing on broken windows, let's focus on that broken portrait of justice. God bless you. See you on August 23rd.
Congressman Hakeem Jeffrey, let me say this. One of the reasons why, like I told you, we had a record on these cases. One of the reasons why the state courts don't work in these situations is that in state court, you can waive a jury. That's what they did in Sean Bell. You get a judge that's got to deal with the politics of his appointment or election. In federal court, you can't waive a jury unless the prosecutor agrees. In state court, the evidence is brought in by NYPD to the DA. So you got people that are dealing with their own colleague. Federal court is FBI, who don't even know the NYPD. Federal judge and federal prosecutor don't have to deal. There's an objectivity. Now, not one newspaper or TV show have broken down the difference. They too busy in what I call schizophrenia. I read one paper. You know, when I was growing up, I was a boy preacher. I didn't read the funnies. So I read the funnies now. One paper said that the mayor was mad at me, furious, because I told him what I told him at the round table. The same paper, the next day, said the mayor called and begged me not to go across the Verrazano Bridge. Now, either he mad and ain't speaking to me, or he begging me. Which one you gonna have? But this schizo. How could he say the mayor's son could be so-and-so? Barack Obama, president of the United States, has said he could be Trayvon Martin. But when you're in schizo land, you just write anything. You know, I got a TV show now, so I know reporters now. They just be looking for something. You know, they've been out all night, some of them, and they, well, let me just work. Now, I'm not saying all of y'all. I'm talking about some of y'all, because we don't do that on my show. We research and think everything out. We are scholarly. But some of y'all, it just don't even make sense. At least read your last story before you put some mess in there. Because I be laughing at y'all, so folk on the airplanes think I'm crazy. I be just reading and laughing. Let us hear from Esau, who is the one who has stood up for the family, the wife of Eric Garner. Give her a hand.
Good morning, everybody. I just want to thank the National Action Network for standing behind me and my family, try to get justice for Eric. And also, I want everybody possible, if you can, wheelchairs, crutches, whatever, come out and do this march for justice for my husband so we can put this thing to rest and my family can have some type of peace and some type of normalcy again in our life. Thank you very much.
Again, you're in Radio Land. If you don't know where a bus is leaving for near you, or if you have a car and want to drive, call right now, 1-877-626-4651, 1-877-626-4651, or go online, nationalactionnetwork.net. The buses, you don't have to pay nothing. We will give you a seat near you. We just need you to call and be part of this march next week. And if you got a car, want to just get in line, come on and ride with us and support justice. Let's hear from the mother, the matriarch of the family, Sister Gwen Clark.
We are happy to be here at NAN once again. And as I said before, we are overwhelmed. The whole family is overwhelmed with your support. We thank you for all that you've done for us. And on the march next week, please, everybody come out. As Reverend Sharpton said, we need you all, your families, your babies. We need everybody to come out and support this march. Okay, because it's not only for my son, you know, it's for Michael Brown from Ferguson, Missouri. It could be for your son next, your husband next, you know. So we don't want this to happen again. So just come out, and we're going to keep this thing peaceful. We're not going to be like Missouri. We're not going out there and we're not going to start fighting and pushing each other and breaking windows, right? We're going to show them we are bigger than that. At the end of the day, what we're actually doing, we want the focus to stay on justice. Okay? And this is what we're going to do. And we give praise to God. Because if we kneel before God, we can stand before any man.
Give her a hand. Next Saturday, those that bleed in justice, those that believe in fairness, those that believe in what's right, will be with us as we go across that bridge and stand up. I want the world to know that we will stand for what is right and we will stand for what is just. Yes, it's going to be hard and it may be long. Salam Ishmael is coordinating in New Jersey, I see it. He's been in the struggle a long time. Our godfather movement, our patriarch, Reverend Herbert Dodge, stand up here. got more mileage than anybody I know on his marching shoes. But it's never an overnight victory. The race isn't given to the swift. Dr. King and Rosa Parks started the Montgomery boycott in '55. They did not get a Civil Rights Act until '64. 9 years. They didn't get a Voting Rights Act till '65. 10 years. If you're not willing to pay the price, you're not going to be able to win. The race isn't given to the swift, nor to the strong. Salam, we don't see some big bad brothers that fade out. The race is given to those that can endure to the end. And if we keep on fighting and battling, step by step, we're going to win this battle. Not because we're stronger, not because we're smoother, but because we're right. And if you're right, right will always overpower wrong. So go ahead and call us names. Dig up whatever dirt you can dig up. Come with whatever mess you got. But those that wait on the Lord, He will renew our strength. I want you to watch us as you smear us. We're going to mount up like eagles. And we're going to fight back in His name because He promised us that if we're faithful over a few things, He'd make us rule over many. Eric was a Lucy seller to you, but he was somebody's daddy to us. Michael Brown was a cigar shoplifter to you. He was a boy on his way to college to us. We go out for the value of our loved ones. We go out for the dignity of our heritage. We go out. We go out. We go out. We go out. Everybody's free. Everybody's free. The doors of the movement. There may be someone today that attends the rally, listens to us on